there's public responsibility there to inform you. And second question, Your Honour, is, Your Worship, is...
He's not wearing a wig.
Is around the implementation of the operational plan. As it is progressed, is the Chair able to comment if there, obviously we've got this consultation process that will be engaged in by the authority, but when the rubber hits the road and it's being implemented and there may be questions or input or concerns from the general public, how do they engage with the organisation in terms of giving feedback in that arena? Do you have contact points? Do you have further consultation process? Just like to understand how that works. Thank you.
So speaking in the generic, because projects are going to differ, again, we have our statutory requirements in terms of the processes, and if I think of some of the projects, again, our fundamental policy settings are in our IMP and strategies. There's another layer to come in terms of the individual Maunga plans. Those policy settings inform our work programs, and if we're involved in statutory approvals, historic places RMA, then we'll follow the statutory requirements of that. And as we're talking about now with the annual operational plan, each of the experience we've had in year by year is that the submissions process has raised a manifold number of things, that run the whole gamut of operation on the Maunga. And that includes, for example, matters of public safety around pest removals in terms of some of the shooting programs that we have. So there's a very wide gamut, and we take on board the feedback that we get. We also have public presentations, just as Council does at our meetings.
Thank you very much. Further question, Councillor?
Sorry, I appreciate the answer and understand it. But if an individual needs to contact your organisation, you have that ability in terms of a call lines or secretarial support. Etc.
Yes, and we do get a lot of feedback and questions, and the team with their resources answers those as best they can.
And Your Worship, for me, I look forward to the consultation. I want to acknowledge the comments that have been made by all councillors around this table, and especially with Councillor Darby in regards to the noting of the detailed consultation program, because we were advised last week and we always knew that there was going to be a separate consultation period that the Tupuna Maunga Authority were going to undertake. So having that there spells it out clear to our community. I look forward to that particular consultation because I would love to front some of the community who are hiding behind social media and passing sometimes abusive comments on members of the Tupuna Maunga Authority. I wish they would front me at one of the consultation events that the Tupuna Maunga are having, because I think it's about time that they get fronted face to face in regards to comments over social media. So, Your Worship, I look forward to not only the consultation that Auckland Council is going to do, but also that where the Tupuna Maunga Authority are doing as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Collins.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Mr Mayor, I wanted, for a moment, I accept Councillor Darby trying to find a way forward, and I appreciate that, Councillor, because this has been my struggle. We had an answer from the Chair of the Maunga Authority, I beg your pardon, from an Officer of Staff to Councillor Bartley saying he couldn't think of another situation where this has been exemplified, what we're going through today. And so I sit very uncomfortable with the discussions that's been had leading us into this situation. So to that degree, I accept that Councillor Darby's words to find a way forward. They're giving me some sense of comfort, Councillor, but I'm still struggling internally because there's still a part of me that thinks this is expedience-type politics to satisfy those who Councillor Filipaina may have been referring to on social media and not prepared to speak to us, and words that have been used over time that are most untoward. I will vote in favour of this, but I just wanted to express my discomfort at how we got here. And if we're going to dialogue, then let's have a bit more of it in a way where more of us can understand how we landed on this position. So well done, Mayor, because I know you've been trying to get us to this situation where we can land on something relatively comfortably. And so I commend you for trying to bring the parties in the dialogue together. But there is still a level of discomfort that I have in my person today in some of the discussions that's been had here, but I'm satisfied that this is a relatively reasonable place to land. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor, and thanks to councillors keeping their comments brief. For Councillor Hills.
Thank you. Obviously, want to support the operational plan. I think a lot of the work that is happening on our maunga is very exciting, and we don't seem to celebrate or talk about the fantastic work that is happening enough or much at all. You know, the changes, say on Takarunga, you know, there was some pretty feisty meetings and conversations, but honestly, more people are using that maunga than ever before. There are people up there of all abilities and everything on top of the tihi without the cars. And yes, it is super easy for those who can't walk up to get the code, and it's all been going really well. I do want to just echo something that Ngāti Blair from Ngāti Whātua Ōrākei said as he did the opening mihi at the Sustainability Awards last year when this was started bubbling up. He said that he said, we are tired. So iwi are tired. They're tired of the same arguments. They're tired of having to prove themselves more than anyone else. They're tired of fighting over the tiny scraps that we as a country, as a city, have been able to give back to the rightful owners of the whenua, of the maunga in our area. So I have some concerns with, you know, there are valid concerns by people, and I don't think everyone is, I'm not accusing everyone of racism, but some of the comments and stuff on social media, some of the discussion that happened at that meeting on the maunga, some of the stuff in the media is absolutely racist and absolutely terrible and absolutely sad that the rangatahi, especially in our community, have to listen to that. The leaders in our community have to listen to that. The people in our community of all ethnicity, not just Māori, have to listen to that type of behaviour. And we kind of just let it keep sliding by. Yes, it's about trees. Yes, there's importance. But actually, it has been an excuse again for racism, for extreme racism. And if you haven't seen it, you don't have to search far on social media to find people in our community talking about other people in our community, the mana whenua of our community, in such horrendous ways. So when I hear comments around this table around, well, it's our money, basically a little bit threatening around maybe we shouldn't allocate the budget because we don't like the operational plan, when we actually don't have the legal right to be opposing that. That's really concerning. You know, imagine if we did that to a local board. No, we don't like your plan, so this governing body is going to withhold your budget. Like, that would be outrageous. But because it's a Te Puna Maunga Authority, that kind of comment just kind of flies under the radar. And that's super concerning for me. So I'm this is better, what's said under B. You can sigh, Councillor Newman, but that's fine. I'm speaking from what I'm thinking, and I have some real concerns about what's been discussed. I'm glad we're at this place, but we just need to be careful of throwing out comments around it's our budget, maybe we shouldn't be accepting it when we don't have legal right. And the tiny little bit that Māori and mana whenua in our community have the right over making decisions, you know, we don't have to agree with it all the time, but I do worry about how we let ourselves get away with those kind of conversations. So.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Simpson.
Thank you, Your Worship. Like Councillor Collins, I have an element of concern or worry, but they're probably very different. I suppose for me, you know, the comments I'm hearing that, you know, every tree on Ohenirau is going to be removed and they're going to be replanted all at once and they're going to be replanted. So I struggled a bit with adopting a draft plan that maybe gave people concern around that. But I think having listened to the discussion, I'm in a better place. We will have consultation, and I really appreciate what Councillor Filipaina said, that there will be people to talk about that. There's scheduled trees. We all know there's probably not enough scheduled trees, to be honest. There are a whole lot of things that have happened since, that people know about their own communities that aren't noted in a schedule. So I feel happier that there will be a consultation process. I also feel happier that there'll be that I now know, and I should have known probably, that there's an opportunity for public forum at every Te Puna Monga Authority meeting, and that the draft operational plan may not be the final operational plan as with regards to the annual work program for every Monga. As a councillor for a ward that does have a Monga, everyone feels ownership, even though that ownership, is definitely iwi, but everyone feels that it's part of that backyard. They want to have a say, and I feel much happier knowing that they will be able to have their say. And I don't, I've never been on the Monga Authority, and I don't feel I have authority to answer the questions for an organisation that I'm not part of. So I really appreciate the fact that there will be an opportunity for everyone to say, and I think what happens after that consultation will be a very interesting discussion, but I'm happy where it's landed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Newman.
Look, I too congratulate the Hmong Authority on its work. I wasn't going to take a call, but I was drawn into the debate. I don't recall any attempt to rewrite the operational plan, and I certainly don't disrespect the roles and responsibilities of parties. As somebody who has listened through the years to the debates about changes to the Resource Management Act, I have never been somebody who has ever had a concern about the removal of blanket tree protections. But actually, the Hmong Authority is just simply operating in the context of its statutory role and function, and it has acted strictly in accordance with what it's permitted to do. I think some of the questions have been fair. I would definitely like to see the replacement of mature exotics with healthy natives, and certainly to see the Maunga looking healthy and resilient and robust as soon as possible, and I have every confidence that that will happen. I respect the right of any colleague to change his or her mind on any issue if that colleague feels that new information persuades them to draw a conclusion which is different from a previous conclusion. My reflection, I suppose, if there was a concern that Councillor Hills had, actually is that I think it's time that some people stop delving into social media. And if there are concerns on social media, then it would do you head in to continue to dwell on that and just stay off Facebook. Stop reading what the trolls have to say, because the trolls will have their opinion, they're entitled to it. But there is a duty of care here that we have as elected members to be partners, and that is what I think people are trying to do. So I want to express my support for the resolutions, Your Worship, including B, and I look forward to the Te Puna Monga Authority undertaking its detailed consultation, and I look forward to the outcome.
Thank you. Councillor Henderson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. And I wasn't actually planning on speaking as part of this either, but I feel compelled to, because I just want to toe-talk all the words of Councillor Hills next to me that I thought had it spot on, and I thought that was fantastic, and I just wanted to add to that. And also toe-talk with Councillor Filipaina and thanking your staff for all the great work that's been done all across Auckland for a number of years now. I think it is a shame that we're talking about controversies and some of the negative elements that may be out there when we should be talking about celebrating the good that's being done, that our city is being improved upon all the time. Those are the conversations that I'd like to have around this table rather than this one that we've had just now. The other thing I'd like to point out is that, I wasn't planning on speaking because I find this fairly procedural in line with us as a partnership and in line with Te Punamanga and directing their operational plan in accordance with their legislative duties and rights, actually. When to point out to my colleagues here that trees are getting cut down all over the city since blanket protections have been taken away, and it's not subject to a replanting program. It's not subject to a beautification program, which is what I'm seeing through this operational plan. And so a bit more anger about some of the more brazen acts that are happening in other parts of the city, I think would be more productive and more of a conversation for us. So I just wanted to end with another note of thanks for all you do, and I look forward to the feedback. Thank you. Kia ora.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Filipaina, do you need to say anything in reply? No. Can I just thank everybody that's spoken? I think what's been really useful out of this debate is that for any listening member of the public, they have a clear perception now that there is a clear process for consultation. And we're obliged to do that on just about everything. And so we should. There'll be people out there with different opinions from our own. Sometimes they're poorly motivated, as Councillor Hills pointed out, but it would be unfair to suggest that everybody that was opposed to the cutting down of exotic trees was motivated by that reason. There are people that are opposed to the cutting down of some very ancient, and I would suggest the word ugly, pine trees at Western Springs, Councillor Coombe, that you wouldn't expect there to be opposition to, but there is, and people naturally don't like to see trees cut down. I think Paul Majuri has put it in context with some trees are being removed, but 75,000 trees are being planted, and I don't think there's any disagreement around that aspect of it. But I think it's beholden to us to go out and listen to people, particularly those that are genuinely motivated, that have a different opinion, and try to take that on board and try to find a way through where you can maximise the level of agreement and support that we get from the community. And actually what we've done today and the resolution that we've finally arrived at has probably achieved that around this table, at least ways I hope so. Sorry, Paul, you were...
Can I just say very quickly, and conscious of time, I welcome the kind, I'll interpret as an invitation, but welcome the constructive thought that in the future for members of the team to attend, whether it's a governing body meeting or the relevant committee meetings, to actually talk about and celebrate the progress and give members an example of the work that's been done and referred to and acknowledged. And if I can put in a party ad for those members who like their time in the Maunga at Maunga Fo, which we see as an example of some of these work streams coming together, remembering we've only been around for just over 5 years, and some very strong expectations from both Mana Whenua and the people of Auckland in terms of bringing these spaces to be what they should be. So in Maunga Fo, a number of these activities are coming together, and we celebrated just before Christmas and more recently the opening of Tupu Kōrero or Maunga Fo, the first information centre on the Tupuna Maunga, and also a Mana Whenua operated cafe, Fo Cafe, with wonderful offerings of foods celebrated by Mana Whenua. But as I say, very happy to come and attend and talk to the things that we're doing.
Thank you, Paul, and ironically, I saw that on Facebook, Councillor Newman. So it's not all trolls. So look, I just want to make this final point to acknowledge the mana of the Tupuna Maunga Authority, to acknowledge that the Act passed ownership to the 13 iwi, and those who have ownership have rights to make decisions, to acknowledge that a huge amount of progress has been made on the Maunga, and to ask some of those who are sharply critical of the TMA to consider that the damage done to the Maunga around the city over the last 150 years has been considerable, but it wasn't done by Mana Whenua. It was done by those who had authority and decided they could destroy the Maunga, put reservoirs on it, etc. So I look forward to some real progress being made, but just reiterate the point, there are people with genuine views of concern when they see any tree cut down, and rather than reject them as individuals to try to understand where they're coming from and to find the common ground that may be possible to find so that everybody can get behind the program for the future. And I think we can do that. Right, the resolution is as printed, A and B. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. To the contrary, no. No. Okay, carried with one exception.